you know, talk about your structure. As I say, be clear on the structure, be clear on the roles you're making redundant, be clear on the roles that are staying, be clear particularly where you're amalgamating jobs and people are saying, well, who's going to do this now or who's going to do that. Have all your answers for that and be very clear and clear and focused on what your business is going to look like post downsizing. You know, I mentioned already voluntary or compulsory. That's a very critical decision for you, because if you go into a voluntary process and then you're going to prevent some people leaving, you have an issue around morale there. So that's a very important decision for you as well. You know, it's also critical that you focus on the role, not on the individual. Don't use this as an opportunity to get rid of people or get even with people, because that will cause you significant exposure. I think the planning as well, communications, certainly on your internal communications, it's important to decide who's going to deliver the message. If you've got to deliver a message that you're letting people go, it's a very difficult thing to do, and you need to be very sure of who you're going to let deliver that message. Obviously the senior person in the business is one of those people, but you then need to decide, is that the only person? When the message is delivered, there's a requirement for ongoing communication within the business, and again you need to decide who's going to do that. And maybe later on we'll touch a little bit on the importance of the managers, and the managers in this situation and the message they give is very important. I think in any message you give, make sure it's consistent and simple. The simpler it is and the tighter it is, the less likely you're going to have misinterpretation, you're going to have rumour, or you're going to have mixed messages around the place. And I suppose once you've done your planning well, and once you have a good communication strategy, the opportunity or the possibility of you controlling the whole process has significantly increased. And control is absolutely key. That you're in charge of it, that you're controlling it, and that you're driving the agenda. And I suppose, you know, two recent things have happened that would suggest to me, or would probably give you a very good picture of how important control is. If you go back to the budget that was released in October, and you look at the mess that the government got into around the medical card issues, you know, a fairly simple thing. In the overall scheme of things, there wasn't a whole lot of money involved, but they put something out there. They hadn't sense checked it. The media and the opposition sense checked it for them, and they were savaged, and they lost total control on it. And even as late as last night, it's still on the news. You know, that's an example of where poor planning can get you in a mess. Similarly, nearer to home, the Dell situation I think was something different, something similar. I know that it's difficult for a multinational sometimes to control the local agenda, but again, that was a situation where the closure of Dell was played out in the media for a number of months in advance of the announcement being made. And again, the company lost control there. And I think those two examples will give you a view on how important it is to do your planning, to have all your angles covered off, and to keep control. And I suppose if we go back to Ryan Keane and his famous fail to prepare, prepare to fail, and that's absolute. On communications then, I've covered a lot of this already, but just to reiterate, internal communication everyone has to do. You need to make a decision as to whether you need to do external communication, and if you do, to what degree. Is it just with your customers and suppliers? Do you have to prepare, do you have to talk to local politicians? Do you have to talk to vested interest groups? Do you have to have a media statement prepared? And it is critical that your internal communication and your external communication are consistent. This day and age, media will get access to internal memos, you'll get access to internal letters. The message has to be consistent. As I said earlier, you need to decide who will deliver the initial message. Is it going to be your senior person, your MD or your CEO? And also where it's going to be delivered, when it's going to be delivered, what's going to be said. Again, to use the Jacob example, we made our announcement on a Friday evening, and that was intentional. We got a little bit of newspaper on Saturday. It was too late for the weekend papers, and by Monday the story was gone. And I don't think we hit the paper since, and we've gone through 18 months of moving consistent and simple message, and eliminate any possibility of rumour or mixed messages. Also on external communication, you need to consider your website. If you have a website, are you going to put something on that? In terms of the implementation then, which is the third part of the process, good planning, easier implementation, and that's an absolute. If you're focused on delivering your structure, that's where your focus should be on, is implementation. It's not dealing with questions that have come because you haven't planned well enough or you haven't done your communication well enough. Your focus at this stage is on delivering your structure, who stays, who leaves, and again, is it a voluntary or compulsory structure? And I think, you know, at this stage, it is important to realise that the people who have been made redundant and the management of that is very important. It's an extremely difficult time for people, particularly around compulsory redundancy. Extremely difficult. But the critical thing for a business at this stage is the people who are staying, right? Because they're your future. And you need to be sure that those people are equipped in every way, be it around resources, around ability, motivation, support, a clear picture of what they're doing, that they're all equipped to deliver all your goals. So, you know, who stays is key to the future of your business, and make sure you don't lose your best employees, and be clear of your future needs, your future structure, and be clear that you have the employees to deliver all that for you. The final part of it then is when everything has moved on, when your restructuring is complete, it's the management of the change after that. Mayo's going to talk in more detail about that with you later. But essentially, it's all about preparing for the future. How will you manage your people now? You know, it's a traumatic time for the people who are left as well. They've probably left colleagues. Probably colleagues have left. They may have new bosses. Their role may have changed. So there will be issues there, and it's important that you recognise that. And you also need to be sure about what you need to do differently now. Your business is now at a new stage, and where you take it. So that's what I have to share with you this morning, and we're going to take some questions later if anyone's anything to ask. Thank you.